Officially. Did you just get nervous when I got... It's a little nerve-wracking, I know.
No, it's okay. No, it's good. It's good. It's good.
It's good. It's good. Okay. Hi, Sweetie Pies. Welcome to another episode of My Slice of Life, hosted by Madison Bellissimo. You might tell that I'm a little under the weather today. Just got over having a cold, but that doesn't stop us from recording another episode. That just stops us from doing a video recording. So today is only audio if you're listening. And we have Mr. Tom Bellissimo on the pod. I'm joined by my father, my padre, my papa. Faja, can you hear me? He's already... Oh, yeah. You signed up for this, and I don't know if you were quite... Okay.
As long as I can keep my arms folded, everything's fine.
You can absolutely keep your arms folded. Thanks for being here, Dad. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Everyone knows that it's actually a running joke in our family that I'm probably the most like you.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone.
Sure.
Oh, God. We're already... Yes, for sure. Yeah, Max trolls me all the time about it and says how much we're alike. And I think anyone that meets you or meets us together understands that and sees that. But also I feel like once people meet me, they hear how fondly I think of you and how much I idolize you. And I think people know how much love I have for my father. So
really, I'd like to be a fly on that wall.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you today, I'll let down the guard a bit and tell you how much I appreciate you in real time. Nice. It's true though.
Okay.
So I did bake you something.
Yes, you did.
As we do for every guest, or as I'm doing for every guest.
Smells great.
Okay. Good. We're starting with a good start. It is a brownie, a browned butter brownie with sweetened coconut and pecans, because my dad gave me only two notes. He said, I want chocolate and I want coconut. So I tried to deliver as best as possible. Mm-hmm. Let's dig in. Let's dive in and see if we like it. We're going to give a little ASMR, which I don't know if you've heard of ASMR. That's when you speak, when you chew into a mic, or if you do like little stuff like that.
Okay.
You're already so excited. Okay.
I am.
Cheers.
Mm.
Is it good?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
A hell yeah. A resounding hell yeah from Tommy B. Already going in for a second bite. I love that. What are the notes? What are you getting?
Oh, man. So good.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you want me to come back here, all you have to do is...
just bake for you.
Promise me this again.
I'm happy to do that. Okay. I'm so happy to do that. Okay, so you're going to be able to eat during the episode. You know, if you need a brownie bite, you just flag me down. Let me know. You can do it while I'm talking at you. Okay. But another thing that I do with each guest that comes on is I ask them a string of questions. And I've already prepped you with these questions, but we haven't talked about what you're going to do and how you're going to answer them. So I'm very excited to see.
Okay.
So the first question is, if your season of life, your current season of life, was a genre for TV and film, what would it be? And follow-up question is, what would the audience be screaming at you?
Okay. Well, at this part of my life, first of all, just as you know, just a couple of weeks ago, I turned 70.
You did?
70.
Which is crazy.
Holy fucking shit.
I do want to say that most people, when they meet you, just as sidebar, like my partner, my current boyfriend, when he met you was like, he's not 70. There's no way. He's like 56. And I was like, everyone says that. Everyone thinks you're so much younger than you are. Not only looks wise, but your energy. You're very, very sprightly.
Well, I keep active, I guess. I don't exercise, not really. But the work that I do in the backyard and everything is sort of like my exercise.
Yeah. You're very, very active in that way.
Thanks.
So 70, you turned 70 this year, and?
So if I was to describe, how did you say it again?
Your season of life. Like what's the genre that you're going through right now?
Okay. I would say it would have to be, if it was a movie, which we both know I've
Your whole thing is working in
movies.
television. And for people that don't know, my dad has done special effects for how many years?
Since 1982, so that would be what? A lot of years.
Yes. 43 years?
43 years.
Yeah.
I started,
So you do practical special effects. So if anyone at home doesn't know what that is.
On-set practical effects. So that means if you're looking through a window and the trees, fake trees and bushes that are outside the window are moving around so it looks like it's real, you're really outside, that's a practical effect. So we do wind, rain, snow, explosions, bullet hits, car crashes, basically anything that moves that cannot move on its own but moves in front of camera, then that's a special effect. If all of a sudden a vase starts shaking on a table, that would be a special effects guy is doing that. A practical on-set guy like me.
I had never realized, I don't think I've ever heard it defined in that way. That's a really cool way of like connecting it to, correlating it to movement. And if it can't move by its own degree, that you're responsible for moving it or making it.
Yeah, if you're filming inside of a hotel and it has elevator doors and you have control of the elevator doors opening and closing, well, they're rigged already to go, so they work. But if we're on a movie set and part of the movie set is elevator doors, well, we rig them so that they open and close on cue. And even when somebody pushes a button and the button lights up or whatever and blah, 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 it tells you what floor you're on or something.
Yeah.
That's all practical effects.
Yeah. So you're needed. You're on set most days because there's always at least something going on that you're in control of. And again, to our point, you've done this for 43 years, so you're quite familiar with TV and film.
Yeah.
It's your whole life.
Yeah. If I could kind of stay on this subject for a second
please.
or whatever and stuff to try to, if you could picture this. Okay. So if you could think about that, I worked on Mad Men for 5 years and most of the stuff I did on Mad Men was elevator doors and stuff like that, fog and wind and whatnot. But at the same time, I've worked with Quentin Tarantino for years and explosions and bullet hits and cars blowing up and everything else.
Burning buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's anything, like I said, from a vase just shaking or somebody taking a drink from a water fountain that's really not, you're not on location. That water fountain was put on the set.
Sure.
We make it work, to blowing up a car or doing bullet hits on people.
Yeah, blowing up Marvin's head in the back of the car in Pulp
Exactly.
Which you literally did.
Yeah, so. John Travolta didn't blow up Marvin's head. I blew up Marvin. I shot him in the face.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So that's incredible that it's such a vast, spectrum of what you do on TV and film. So you've been doing that for 43 years. You've been on set for 43 years. You love it. You truly, as much as it's not an easy job, you do have such a deep passion for it. And I think that reads through your work.
Sure.
And I think everyone that's worked with you and seen you, I always talk about what a fantastic storyteller you are. And how you're being so thank you. I appreciate it. But it's so funny because you are so magnetic when it comes to what you love. And I think that you've grown such a deep, fond love of TV and film and your part in it. So,
so when you ask me what my life right now, if it was a movie or something, what would it be? I would, to be totally honest, I would say it is an adventure because I'm still in 2 weeks I leave for Bora Bora, because I always wanted to go to Tahiti and never been.
Bucket list item.
That's right. Yeah. After 70, hey, if you want to go to Bora Bora, you better go now, kind of a thing.
You have your health too. You guys are so lucky. You and Mom you do travel so much. You're bi-coastal too.
Yes.
So because you're bi-coastal, you're used to traveling a lot. So you're like, why not go to all these places that I've never been to that I'd love to go?
Exactly.
So I couldn't be happier for you.
Thank you.
So it
Yeah.
is an adventure.
So it's an adventure based on a crazy biography.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, I'm writing a book right now about my experiences on the movie sets and on TV, and even when I first started in the '80s on rock videos, and it just joggles my brain. You know, I go, oh yeah, that's right, and then that I met him because of so and so, yeah, and then she was, you know, so it's like it's you know, so that's the movie I'm in right now with my life, and
It's like a crazy true story. You're watching something unfold
yeah,
that, you know, you're watching this character that you're like, that's unbelievable that they've gone through all of this and
yeah,
that they've lived the life that they
yeah,
have so far.
exactly,
I love that.
exactly, and I'm still doing stuff, and
Absolutely.
you know, so.
To your point, you were saying you're active and you're constant. Every time I call up mom or call up you, it's like dad's doing this, which
Yeah.
is such a. I feel so fortunate as your daughter and being
Oh, thank
your
you.
youngest child.
The baby.
Yes, I want you here on this planet as long as physically possible.
Well,
So
thanks.
I
Yeah.
appreciate how physical you are and how much you take care of that.
Yeah, and I love life, and it's still an adventure to me. You know, so
So it's an adventure, and people are watching this adventure movie. And what are they screaming at the screen? Like if they're in outside POV, what's the?
well, if they're from New York, they're going, get the fuck out of here, because because of some of the experiences and some of the people I've been with and some of the things that I've done and the places I've gone to and everything is just it's insane. I mean, I do horror cons every once in a while, you know, a couple a year and stuff, and people are like going, wait a minute, you worked on this, and that? And I go, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I did for a living.
Yeah.
So it's just from one to another.
I know. I mean, I was just at a party this weekend, and I told you that I attempted to tell a story that I've heard a couple of times in my life, and I was just like, damn, I'm not doing this enough justice because of the heightened situations that you are put into sometimes on sets specifically where, you know, yeah, sometimes you're doing an elevator door and, you know, you might be working with a list actor that day, but it, you know, you're closing the elevator door, and as much as that takes skill and planning and all that stuff, it's not as high stakes as you're blowing up a head in the back of a car. You're doing a bullet hit on
A famous person.
a very A-list, the top actor.
Sure.
You're working right with them. You're going, "Hey, don't worry, you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
This isn't going to hurt you. I need you to do your job. I'll do my job. This is how we complement each other."
Yeah.
And it is a lot of high stakes because sometimes you're dealing with fire or explosions right next to one of the most famous people,
Oh, yeah.
you know? So it's just funny that I think, get the fuck out of here
Yeah.
is the perfect sentiment.
I'll tell you a funny story. You
Please.
just made me think about it.
Please.
I was working with Pamela Anderson on a television series that she did years ago called VIP.
Classic.
And we did explosions and bullet hits around Pam all the time. And she totally trusted me, but she would talk to me beforehand. And I want to talk to her, you know, beforehand to make sure that everything is cool.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready to shoot a scene where Pam is sitting outside of a restaurant next to a window of the restaurant, and she's at a table by herself, and she's eating a sandwich, and somebody shoots at her, and the sandwich explodes while she's eating it, and the window next to her explodes, and the glass falls
Shatters.
down. So, you know, Pam is like, hey, Tom the Bomb, what the fuck is happening? Away?
She called you Tom the Bomb.
Tom the Bomb, yeah.
That's adorable.
And I took a sandwich and ran a wire up Pam's arm, and it was like a hero. So we made it stick out past her hands, and I put a small explosive in it so it would, and I told her where to hold it with the hands. And I'm watching her. So if she made a mistake, I would not push the button.
Yeah.
And then also we took the glass that was next to her. And when we put it back in the window, we replaced the glass with a new piece of tempered glass to break.
Yeah.
And we bent it so it was concave going away from her. So the bend in the glass, when the glass breaks, made the glass go into the store
Shatter the other way.
instead of coming out at Pam. And on a 3, 2, 1, as she took a bite of the sandwich, I pushed the button when I seen everything was safe. The sandwich blows up. The glass next to her blows up, falls down. And Pam is like, what? Looking, her character is like, what? Cut, and, so it's stuff like that. You gotta, a director says, this is what I want. Can you do it? And you go, yeah.
I think I can.
Yeah. And then you figure it out and everything's good.
Oh, totally. I mean, I think that's one of the most impressive things that I've been able to witness as, I always make the joke that I became an actor because I had no choice, because you would come home and tell dinner stories.
I had no choice.
I'm sorry that your child's an actor. But I always joke that because my dinner stories were these things, like this story about Pam, and you would speak so highly of some people that I idolized or that publicly were idolized. And, you always loved working with them. But at the same time, there was so much like engineering on your part of having to make the impossible happen, or something that's never been done before or recreated outside of natural circumstances. You have to now make in something that you can recreate or replicate 3 or 4 times to a dozen times, or upwards. Sometimes you can't do it 3 or 4 times because it's blowing up a boat, and you're
That's
like,
right.
we have 2 boats,
or we have one boat.
We have one boat, and I'm doing this, and that's it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I've always found so fascinating, is that was the kind of stories you were telling, and that's the kind of mindset you had to have for 43 years, where you were just problem solving and engineering what you thought, how you could replicate or recreate or maybe create for the first time a sensation that someone wrote, right? Someone wrote it down and said, and then the glass pops and her sandwich blows up, and you're going, when has this happened in real life? But you have to recreate it for TV and film.
I have so many
stories. I know, and that's where I'm like, I'm gonna have to have you on another episode, but we'll still get into more today. But I just find it so fascinating that you had to do that, and I think, again, I just make fun of myself because I'm like, that I had no choice. Those were my dinner stories. What else was I supposed to pursue? Like,
and for me, when I meet people now, I'm retired, and sometimes I meet people. I get introduced or whatever, friends of friends and stuff, and in the conversation, somebody might say like, I worked at such and such hospital or a law firm or whatever. What did you do, Tom? And it's like, oh boy, here we go. Because, I'm going to tell them and they're going to look at me like, what?
Yeah, it's not a common job. First of all, there's
all.
such few special effects people.
Yeah,
in
there's
the
only
industry.
200 and something of us that make a living doing it.
It's crazy. It's that's a very minute group, considerably to the scale that is.
Absolutely.
The entertainment industry.
Absolutely. It's a dying art.
Yeah, which is tragic. And I'm so glad that you're writing a book. Like you said, you're in the middle of writing a book about your experiences. And then you also want to turn, and I don't want to give up your business ideas, but, you also want to do another book about like how you do those. It's more of a guide.
Yeah. The secret of practical special effects and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I think anyone would read that, let alone people that are interested in the...
Yeah, because so many people ask me, like, they see cars blowing up on TV and stuff like that. And obviously, most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, that car blowing up is a optical effect. And it looks that way, you know. But then every once in a while you see a car really blow up and it's a whole different thing. And they go, that's what you used to do. And I did it weekly.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
So this
You're
is my
like,
way of explaining how we did it and did it safely. Never hurt anybody
yeah,
ever on
I
the
know.
set.
I
Ever.
mean, and not that we have to knock on wood, but I low key want to because
Okay.
we're not going to let that happen anytime in the future.
No.
But yeah, that's it. And as much as you are retired, the great thing is because of your reputation, you still work. Some people still call you up for certain gigs,
Mm-hmm.
because they need your expertise,
Yeah.
and so you are very gracious to come out of retirement every couple of months to do certain things for people.
Well, like you pointed out, you're an actress,
Yeah.
and I never wanted you to be in the movie industry.
Six six
And
six.
my two sons, I never wanted them to be in the movie industry, and my other daughter, Alexandra, I never wanted her to be in the movie
Yeah.
industry. And all four of you are in
All
the movie
four.
industry.
Well, you did a great job, Dan.
Gee, thanks. The two boys doing special effects, and Alexandra designing movie posters,
I
and
know.
you being an actress. I mean, you're all doing it, and I guess it's my fault, but
Why were you so hesitant to it? Just because of how hard it is to get into, and
yeah, it's
it's the
the
hours.
hours and the what it becomes a passion, and when something becomes a passion, no matter what it is, gardening or making movies or whatever and
Yeah.
stuff, you sometimes have to give up the time with the people that you love
Mm.
because you're in the middle of what you feel is a responsibility towards your passion,
Mm.
and that weighs on couples. I've seen a lot of couples break up and everything else.
Yeah.
Thank God, my wife is a saint, totally understandable about me in the career. And we started dating before I got into this. So
Yeah.
she encouraged me to get into it. And,
Mm-hmm.
so it worked out well. She raised the family while I raised the business.
Mm-hmm.
And
But you weren't, as much as you worked very hard and you had to be gone a lot, you were
mhm.
not a dad that came home on weekends and then said, like, don't let the kids near me. Like, you would be
Oh,
first
no.
thing. You'd be up. Like, I loved Saturday mornings because I feel like you would always be up. I would come out and you'd be in the garden and I'd come out and help you,
Or I'm making breakfast or
Absolutely. You're
juice or
the main
something. Yeah.
cook in our family. So
Yeah.
you would come home and cook for us even after working a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
So as much as I know that you probably wish you could have had more time of the mundane stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was never a point in time where you weren't there when it mattered. You were always there.
Thanks.
So
Yeah.
it's true.
And it just worked out really well between your mother and I because she got to stay home with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something that she loved doing.
Mm-hmm. She's an
And
amazing mom.
she is. She's awesome, man. Awesome lady. And I loved what I was doing, and sometimes I'd have to be gone for months at a time in places like Morocco.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm talking to you guys on a
On Skype.
computer or
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
So, but everybody turned out pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, do you still feel the sentiment like if you could snap your fingers and your kids wouldn't be in the industry, would you do that? Or do you feel like how much we've worked or have fallen in love with it, to your point?
Well, the thing with the industry is that's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's me hoping that you guys wouldn't get into it, but at the same time, it's like when all four of you guys went to college
Mm-hmm.
and graduated with degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't matter to me what you guys wanted to take up as long as you were passionate and happy about what you were doing. So, same thing with with work right now and
Yeah.
stuff. If you didn't become an actress, or if your sister didn't design movie posters, or if Max and Tristan didn't get into doing special effects like I did, it would have been fine with me.
Yeah, totally. You sound it's so true. And this is why I think people I try to speak of you as highly as you come off, because
Oh, you're making me blush.
I'm sorry, but you sound like such a saint right now because you are, because it's so, first of all, I think most parents, specifically dads, if there's a dad in the picture, are, I feel like, so hell-bent on making their children do a specific career, right? They'll be like, I want them to do exactly what I did, or like take off, like keep the legacy going. And you had such a different approach that you were like the opposite. And then on top of that, again, there's usually huge pressure from parents being like, you need to go to school, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be a nurse, you need to be, insert here. And both you and mom were just so encouraging of like, go with what you want to do. And like,
Sure.
we will help you. And, as long as you're dedicated and you're going to work your ass off and you're going to be a good person and do that, then we support you. And I mean, it's just invaluable how much that support comes through. And I think it's really benefited all of us. At least I can speak on my behalf.
Well, when I think about it, school and you kids growing up and whatnot and stuff, and what I might have done right and what I might have done wrong. One of the things that, if a parent asked for advice for a high school child or something like that, the thing I would say from experience that happened to work really well for your mother and I was, I'll never forget, your brother Max wanted a car.
Yeah.
He wanted a truck, a pickup truck, high school boy, getting his license, everything else.
Typical Max.
And some of his friends had cars and whatnot, and some didn't. And some of the ones that did would have to have a job to pay for the gas and pay for the insurance and this and that and everything else. And your mother and I had a different approach on it. And whether you agree with it or not, it just worked well for us.
For you guys, yeah.
And what it was is your brother Max, when he wanted that truck, I said to him, okay, this is what I'm going to do for you. If you get straight A's, I'm going to buy you the truck. And if you get straight A's, and as long as you keep straight A's, you have the truck, and I'll pay for the gas, and I'll pay for the insurance. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Because your job is to get straight A's. My job is to pay for all this stuff. But if you start getting B's, well, now you're going to have to get a job because you're going to have to pay for your insurance and you're going to have to pay for your gas. It worked out well. Max got straight A's because he didn't want to get a job and he wanted to have the freedom and everything.
Yeah.
And because he got straight A's, he ended up getting a scholarship for college.
Yeah.
So, there was something to be said. You know, some parents are like, no, we want you to do this. And for me, it just made more sense for him to work very hard in school instead of working very hard in a sandwich shop.
Totally. And I think a few things, like I think, first of all, it was a huge luxury and it was because of your work and how much time you sacrificed that you were able to, do that for your kids and be able to provide for them in that way. Because obviously not every family has that opportunity, but I think it did work out so well because you had the resources, and I think you used them incredibly wisely, like you're saying, like incentivized him, and you really did it from like not a guilt. You were trying to inspire him to make the right
deal.
Make the right decisions because it was in his favor, and it ended up being really helpful to your point, and
to both of us.
Yeah. And then you didn't have to worry about him, and he was, a great student, and he was very responsible.
He worked very hard at working in school, and that showed.
And track too,
Yeah, and he didn't have to worry about getting a job that he would hate.
Totally, yeah. I mean, if you're able to swing that, I think that's a very, very great business deal.
And as much as I gave up being away or working long hours and everything, you guys gave stuff up because you didn't have your dad around all the time.
Yeah. I think that's true. But it wasn't like I got it the least out of the kids too. Like the least, I got the least shaft because you were local more for my childhood.
Yeah.
They got, when they were really young, you were having to travel more because you were cutting your
building
teeth.
a business.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
you were doing more movies, which usually were taking you out of state or out of the city, and you would go like away longer when they were children. But when I was around, I lucked out pretty well because I pretty much always had you on the weekends, or at night,
Yeah.
So as much as I understand what you're saying, but I don't want you to feel any guilt or anything like that.
Yeah. I don't feel that guilty
Okay.
because, I
Because
think you
again, what
guys
you
all
provide
turned
us
out
with.
well, you know. So
And that's point to Meg as well, you know?
and the other thing that blows me away, and I just said this to you the other night when we went out to dinner,
Yeah.
you and I and
And Alex.
Alexandra. Um, I feel like I'm friends with my kids. I feel your mom's friends with you kids too, and
For sure.
that to me is like invaluable.
Yeah.
Like that, I actually like my kids as people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great.
It's a phenomenon, right? I
yeah,
think you guys,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of your generation didn't grow up. You were very close with your dad. But like, I think there was always such a deep disciplinary role for parents at that point. And it was because it was just generations and generations of keeping a stiff arm
Sure.
towards your kids of being like, oh, we are not equals. You need to do this, you
Yeah.
know? I think it worked obviously for some people. Some people still turned out wonderful and whatnot. But I think you and mom had good relationships with your parents and you wanted to expand on that even more so. And you were like, oh, we'll learn from the things that we didn't think our parents did quite right, which is not always being there, you know, emotionally, I feel like, you know. And so you guys tenfold were there for your kids, you know, emotionally.
Well,
So,
you know, I think one of the lucky things for me was, even though my parents, my father was very, very cool. My mom was the one that handed out the discipline more than anything.
yeah.
But both of them, when it came to my sister and my brother John and I and our careers or whatever and stuff, they didn't push us
Any which way.
It was like we did with you guys. Whatever you guys want to do, as long as you put yourself totally into it. So Lillian was a great second grade and third grade teacher. That's what she always wanted to do. My brother John was a fantastic photographer who traveled the world with bands. And I got to go to school and become a illustrator, which I wanted to do, which then got me into the industry I'm in, which is kind of a weird story. But
Yeah.
anyway, so it was because my parents encouraged us to be the best we could be at what we truly wanted to be.
Yeah.
That was installed in me, and that was handed to you guys.
Oh, 100%. That was instilled in us too, you know? And I think to your point, like, to bring it back to the like, this is an adventure movie, right? Like, this is like, where did we, like, what are the people watching thinking? They're going like, I can't believe this is true. You're saying you started as an illustrator and artist, and you were extremely talented at illustration, that you were able to go to college for it, and you were making money as an artist.
Yeah.
You had moved to California to be an artist, and you moved out. That's how you met mom.
Yeah.
And you guys were both artists. And then obviously you kind of pivoted to do more you started doing art department, right?
Yeah,
for
rock
TV.
videos, yeah.
In the 80s, right? Or I guess late 70s?
82.
82 was the first.
Yeah,
okay.
that's because I think MTV had just come out in like 81.
Wow.
And so it was the beginning of MTV. And I was working at home watching MTV going, my God, this
cool
is
as
what I
fuck.
want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, which it's funny because I talk about this a lot with people when they ask me about acting and getting into podcasting. And I go, I mean, first of all, it's another way to channel my creative energy that I just feel like is constantly overflowing and bubbling at the surface. But also, like 10 years ago, really, podcasting, like radio has been something, but podcasting specifically as like, this is a career, like people were doing it, but not as like a very fun, exciting, enticing career. And now it's so well represented that in the last couple of years, I've been falling in love with it. And as like a user, as some like a patron listening, you know, and then being like, oh shit, I could do this for a living too. So it's like
anything
sometimes
that enriches people's lives and makes you feel good and stuff like that and everything. I mean,
we both have a passion for that, which is
jump on that bull and grab it by the horn.
There you go. I think that's probably why people think that we're very similar, is because we have a similar tenacity in that way where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I'm going to do this now. Okay, sick. You
Yeah.
know,
Mm-hmm.
put my head down. But I do want to, I keep going with the questions and we'll obviously,
Sure.
we'll
I'm ready.
keep,
I'm sorry. I went off
no,
kilter
you have
here.
nothing to be apologetic for. This is exactly what I want. And I know that people are going to be messaging me and texting me going like, if you don't have your father on the podcast next week, I mean,
Make me another brownie.
I will happily. I'm so glad you liked it. But you've been getting, this is a sidebar on my part, but you, after college, I lived, I rented from you guys, one of the guest houses at the house for about 2 years and maybe 3 years at that point. Yeah, because I did both guest houses. And I was baking for you guys a lot. I feel like I always make the joke that the family got a little tired of me baking for you guys all the time. No, you wouldn't say?
Yeah, you were the only baker.
Yeah.
I love
You
to barbecue
cook. You love
and
cooking.
cook. Yeah,
And I've
Italian.
definitely, yes, you're Italian.
Well, I mean Italian food.
Oh, okay.
My
But you are
specialty.
New York Italian, Sicilian.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's where you've always cooked since my entire life, my entire childhood. You've cooked for us.
Well, yeah. Of course, I love to eat.
Yeah.
I love Italian food and stuff. And when I moved out to California with, let me say, only $57 in my pocket.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Again,
crazy.
the unbelievable.
Sleeping on friends' couches.
Yeah,
until I get
unbelievable
a job.
circumstances.
But when I got my first apartment, which was basically a room that I rented,
Yeah.
and a buddy of mine had the room right down the hall from me, and I was leaving to go get something to eat, and as I went in the hallway, I went, "Oh man, somebody's cooking Italian food, man, that's awesome!"
Yeah.
And I went over to knock on Augie's door, and it was coming from Augie's place.
No way.
Yeah, and he opened up the door. He says, "I'm gonna go get something to eat." I says, "What? You're cooking?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he had a hot plate.
Yeah.
And he was making chicken cacciatore
On
in
a
a hot plate.
Oh my God.
And I said, "Where'd you get that?" He says, "I bought it at a used store, like." And I says, and "You're cooking? What is that?" And he goes, "Chicken cacciatore." I says, "Oh man, it smells so good." And he goes, "Oh yeah, it's easy." And he showed me how to, and that was it for me.
Yeah. How old were you then? I'm sorry.
20, just before my 22nd birthday.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you grew up with your grandmas on both sides. Your whole family's making huge Italian meals all the time for all of your relatives.
Yeah.
And so it's funny to me that it took until you were like 22. But honestly, it was the same because
people made it for me. I didn't have to make it for myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
same with me. I mean, I grew up in a house where we all cooked, like we would all, even if we weren't like the primary cook, we were always helping in the kitchen with you guys. But like, I don't think until my early 20s did I really it was when I went to college. So actually 18, I was like, okay, now I need to start cooking for myself and start really. And
when you eat really good home cooked meals and stuff, especially ethnic meals and whatnot, and then you're like going, okay, should I go get a sandwich? You go, I got to learn how to make this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've learned to make eggplant parmesan because of that. And
I spent probably 3.5 hours last night making eggplant parmesan for your mother's friends.
Yes. And if anyone doesn't know this about me, that's one of my favorite meals. I always joke that might be my death meal, my last meal.
Mm-hmm.
If I could choose, it's like my dad's eggplant parmesan because it's so ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And it just is so quintessential of the taste of home for me.
And such a pain in the ass to cook.
I know. But you do it, it's such a labor of love. And you've done it my whole life.
I know that it's going to be appreciated. So, that's why I brought you some today.
And he did bring me some, me and my boyfriend. And I appreciate that. So second question is, what mundane or ordinary moment, material item, or mantra that's kind of hit you recently has highlighted the simple joys in your life? Like what simple joys are you getting from either a material item, mundane moment, or mantra?
Okay, well, I As you know, I like collecting things. I
Mm-hmm.
always have collected stuff. I mean, not like stamps or anything else, just off the wall
Yeah.
junk, props from movies that I
Yeah.
worked on and whatnot. Um, One of the things that I have, and it was really weird because I have to go back
Please.
months ago when the fires were happening here in California.
Yeah. In January.
I was in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and your sister got in contact with me. And she says, if we have to pack up a bunch of stuff from this house,
Yeah. We have to
besides
evacuate.
photographs, what do you want? And I said, okay, on the mantle of the fireplace in the master bedroom, there is a glass box that has a crack going through it.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah. I says, okay. My father rescued that box out of a drugstore when I was a kid that had burnt down. My father actually went in the drugstore after it burnt down, looked around inside there, found this glass box, took the glass box out, and I loved it. And my father ended up giving it to me.
Mm.
And over the years, I've put stuff that's weird, but like is part of my life inside there. Like,
Like
uh,
mementos, like things that have
yes,
meant something. Okay.
yeah, weird shit.
Represented something that's gone down in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
a small shell from a turtle that I had that died, and I ended up getting the shell.
Yeah.
And just like little things from friends, or a coin from a machine that
Mm.
makes coins, or that box is filled with my life
Yeah. Memories.
from when I was probably around 8 years old.
Oh.
And it's there. And every once in a while, I look at that box and stuff. So I don't know if that answers part of the question that you
Yeah.
asked me, but when it comes to like things,
Uh-huh.
that thing that that time capsule
Yeah.
thing, it must mean a lot to me because that's what I told
That
your
was
sister
what,
to
yeah.
rescue.
I mean, that's a great way of kind of defining what really matters is like in a situation of a burning building, what are you grabbing, you know? And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, at least when I was reading so many articles and seeing people that evacuated, and I was evacuated and I had family, you know, we had family, and my boyfriend's family was also evacuated, and it was just kind of funny, the like collective of like, what the fuck do I take, like
Yeah.
that hopelessness of like, yeah, what means the most to me at the end of the day, really puts it into perspective. So
Yeah.
the fact that glass, I know exactly, as soon as you
Yeah.
started describing it, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it a gazillion times.
Mhm.
It's in the same location of your house, you know, and like those, as much as those are material items, right? They're considered material items.
Uh-huh.
It's really the memory that's attached to them that
Yeah.
means so much to you. So
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. And do you have any moments that like recently? I mean, your granddad now has.
Oh,
Is there anything? I know I gush about my nephew,
yeah.
and he loves his Papo. He calls you
Yeah.
Papo.
We try to get him. I tried to get him to call me Poppy because we were talking about that. It was like, what do you want your grandson to call you? And
Yeah.
I thought about it, and my father was called Poppy.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, yeah, Poppy. I want to be a Poppy.
Yeah.
Well, he started calling me Papo when he started speaking. And that's it. That's my
Stuck.
name now,
Yeah.
Papo. So which I prefer much more than Poppy.
Which is so funny. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
ever known. But yeah,
Yeah.
Aurelio chose it for
And
you.
Aurelio, he sits next to me when we eat breakfast and dinner.
Yeah.
Most of the time when the family's together, or he'll sit on my lap and he'll eat some of my toast in the morning and something like that. And the thing that blows me away about him is he's a kid, so he makes a mess.
Of course.
I'm the only person that he'll let clean his hands and his face with a napkin.
Yeah, without throwing a temper
Without
tantrum.
like,
Yeah.
he just, I go, let me clean your face. And he just looks at me and he puts his face towards me and I just,
Yeah, you usually sing to him. You usually hum.
Yeah.
Kind of, and you like kind of distract him with it.
Yeah. And so moment wise, that's one of the things that gets me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it gets me emotional. This kid, I look at him and just to see also, it's been such a unique experience for me to see you and mom like have like a second brand of parenthood, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously you guys are my parents, and I think
Yeah.
again to your point, I feel like friends with you too. Like we are
Uh-huh.
such a close knit family. We have such dynamic bonds with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and I think of my childhood and my growing up so fondly to today. Like it's just gotten better as I've
Uh-huh.
gotten to appreciate you more and understand more who you guys are as
Thanks.
parents. It's true. But it's such a different, beautiful experience. It makes me truly emotional when I see you and mom with him because he is so loved. Like it's
Yeah.
like actually to a concerning degree how loved he is from
Yeah.
so many family members and friends. And he's just so tight with both you and mom. And because you
Yeah.
guys are bi-coastal, you do spend a lot of time in California, but when you're gone, it's very noticed. Like he's, you can
Yeah.
tell he misses you both. Like he's like,
Yeah.
Papo. And then he
Yeah.
calls her Nana.
Yeah.
And he's just attached to you guys. He loves you guys so much. And that you should take that as such a
Yeah.
high
And
compliment,
the wonderful thing about it too is at this age and stuff, now that I'm retired, and retirement is awesome. Now that I'm retired, and I have a pension and Social Security and stuff, and there's not much that I need or want anymore or whatever and stuff. I'm very content with my life to be able to wake up when I want, figure out what I feel like doing, and then, oh, the grandson's coming over. Yeah, I'm going to play around with him. Oh, he's screaming. Okay, yeah, get him out of here. You know,
Yeah,
it's
you're like, I'm done. I'm gonna go work in the backyard.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Yeah,
It's better than wonderful.
yeah.
It's
They always
great.
talk about grandparenthood is such a great experience
Mm-hmm.
because you do have that luxury of being able to like, I don't have to be solely responsible for this child.
That's right.
You're just like you're a backup. You're
Yeah,
a backup responsible party,
yeah.
and you get to give them all the candy and let them get
Oh yeah,
wild and
you're a hero.
yeah. He loves you guys
Yeah,
so
we
much.
have a lot of fun with him and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And you
he's
guys are
great.
so silly. That's the funniest thing too. Like I know we talked earlier in this episode about you turning 70, and I said how people just don't believe it because of how young spirited you are and how young you look. But it's the same for you and mom. Like you guys are so funny and silly with him.
Yeah,
Like you guys just like make a fool of yourselves. You'll make noises, you'll
absolutely.
make faces at him all the time. We do anything to make this child laugh,
Yeah,
and have a good time. And because of that, he has like the cushiest life that possible,
sure.
and which is what you want for a child, right? Like
Yeah,
even if he's not like he's my nephew, but I want to give him everything. I'm like every last penny I have in the bank he could have,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and it's so fun to watch you and mom get
Yeah,
so sweet and silly with him.
yeah.
It's
We have a
just
great time with him,
yeah.
and because we don't have to take care of him all the time, it's just all these little visits per day.
Yeah.
It helps that he lives with his mother and his father in our guest house
Yeah,
right now.
across the
So
pool. Yeah.
yeah, so they're over there.
Yeah.
Oh, here he comes. Okay, if time to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, he's going
Bye.
back.
Yeah.
Goodbye, night night. Come on. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, and you guys have the energy bank for it, right? Like because
Yeah.
it's not an all-day event, you get
Mm-hmm.
him at different spurts.
Yep,
It's such a wonderful thing, and I feel so lucky, and I know you do too.
we do.
I do want to talk about, this is not the next question, but I do want to kind of get a little on your retirement. How does it feel to be retired? Like that's people work their literal whole lives
Mm-hmm.
for retirement. And now that you are retired, how does this chapter of life feel for you?
It feels great. It really does because my social life, besides being with you guys, the
Yeah.
kids, and my wife, was very limited because of all the hours that I used to put in and the locations I go to. So my social life was actually with the crew of whatever movie or TV series I was working on at the time. And of course, my core crew of the guys around me, guys and girls around me that worked on my team doing special effects and everything. So,
Yeah.
but now now I have 4 kids that I'm friends with
Yep.
who all have their own lives and their own loves and stuff and their own uh, talents and things that they're working on and whatnot. And I have all the time.
Uh-huh.
It's like when you asked me to come here to do this, it was like,
Yeah.
sure, okay.
Yeah, you were so
Like,
chill
what
about
do I
it.
got to do? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, do this, and then I'm gonna jump in the shower and go down there and see you, and then,
Then I'll
yeah,
come back and I'll make some stuffed mushrooms for my
yeah,
wife.
that's
And
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's a
it's wonderful. It's wonderful, and it's wonderful. You know, you worry about money your whole life and everything, but if you're lucky and you're smart and you're lucky,
lucky twice.
lucky twice,
Uh-huh.
you were able to put money away and have, besides Social Security, a pension,
Yeah.
and so because I have this pension and because we saved money and because we invested in property and whatnot when we could,
Yeah.
it's great. It's wonderful. You know, it's not that I don't feel like I'm rich. I know rich people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Sure.
I don't have any needs or wants. As a matter of fact, as you know,
Uh-huh.
I turned 70, like I said early and
Yeah.
stuff. And your mother goes, what do you want to do for your 70th birthday? I said, well, I want to be with the kids and the grandkid and,
Yeah.
just have a good time. She goes, no, no, no. But is there anything special you want to do? Well, maybe we could eat. No, no, no. Is there anything special you want to do? Is there any place you want to go that you haven't been to? And I said, you know, ever since I was in the 4th grade, I wanted to go to Tahiti.
Yeah.
And
4th grade. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. My teacher, Sister Peter Canisius, her name was really fucking good.
Wow.
She used to read to us stories about this family that lived in Moorea and Bora Bora
Yeah.
in Tahiti. And I just to me, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Here I am in Brooklyn, probably freezing in the winter going, what? Tahiti Islands with coconuts? What? So,
Yeah.
so we're going in a week and a half.
Incredible.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Tahiti. I've been all over Europe, and we're gonna go to Sicily in September, and so it's like to have the money to be able to do trips like that,
Yeah.
and like I told you and your brothers and your sister that I'm spending your inheritance right now.
And that's okay.
It is.
I was
It
going to make a
is.
joke about that.
Yeah, some people just save and save and save and save, and it's like, what are you saving
For? Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll leave you something.
No.
But
yeah, you've given me so much, like specifically, obviously, my education and again, a warm, safe house to always be in a loving environment. And that's all I could ask for. And as much as it is a running joke that you're spending our inheritance, and I love that you make that joke, it's not really a joke, but I'm saying more the fact that you kind of dig it in. I couldn't be happier for you guys. I want you and Mom to do that. And you've worked your ass off for so many fucking years that it's really so rewarding for us, at least, or I think I can speak on behalf of all 4 kids, that it's so rewarding to be able to see you guys do that and enjoy yourselves.
And you know what? Your mom and I still get along so good, man.
I know.
We'd
That will
laugh
make me
our
cry.
asses off and stuff, man. We have a good time. I mean, we bicker with each other and stuff, but other than that, she's my favorite traveling companion. So why not travel?
Yeah. Trust me, I get it. When I tell people because people are always enamored by the fact that you guys are still together, and not only still together, that you're truly gobsmacked in love with each other still. And I always joke that one of my favorite things that you do that makes me cry all the time is you'll randomly be at dinner with us and be like, your mother's my best friend. And
Yeah.
I'm like, cue the tears every time you do it. I'm like, God damn it, Dad.
That's why I do it.
Yeah.
No.
To fuck with me. Yeah, but it's true. And I just feel so, I mean, I've talked on my last podcast before, and I know it's going to come up quite a lot on this podcast, that it's such a beautiful thing that you've given me, because for the longest time I was like, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because I was like, I have the pinnacle example of love in front of me, directly, like my parents. And it was such a wonderful thing to witness. But then I was like, I'm so fucked, because like, if I can't recreate that, like, how am I going to be able to move on with my, because I it's almost like I know it's possible, because some people, they get into relationships and they're like, but my parents are divorced and they were never in love, so like, I don't know if I even believe in love, right? So as much as that's so horrific in its own right, like, I would hope everyone would be able to believe in love and destiny and soulmates and things like that. I get why people would feel that way if they didn't have that example. And it's almost lower stakes, because you're like, listen, I just want to find someone I enjoy myself with, and like, go from there, and then I'll take it day by day. But because I had this like cosmic soulmate perfect couple in front of me, and when I say perfect couple, I know it's like you said,
not perfect.
Yes, no one's perfect, but in the way of like, you guys respect each other and love each other so ardently, and
Well, we only do that in front of you.
Oh, okay.
No, only kidding.
But it honestly, for the longest time, I was like, it's a blessing and a curse. And
no, I understand that.
yeah, but now my tune has changed a bit. Now being with my partner, but
that's right.
But I think because it's like when you have it and you feel it, and you're like, oh, this is different, and this is so worth committing my entire life to, and committing to always try my hardest to keep this going to the healthiest and the most abundant, way possible.
Well, if you didn't get hurt in past things, you wouldn't know what a pleasure it is now. Same thing for me. I mean, I believe in getting hit by the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And when I met your mom, I got hit by the lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And
cue everyone listening to this crying, because I know all my girlfriends are gonna be like, what the fuck? It's true though, and I agree with you, and I believe in it too, because I always believed in it because you told me from such a young age that was how you would talk about mom, and how you've never changed your tune. And I even have friends that would hear you. I remember a guy friend that had heard you when I wasn't there. He was with you, and he was like, you had said, yeah, I love my wife so much. She I would do anything for her. And he came back to me and was like, that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. He was like, your dad was just saying that like casually. And he was just saying, he wasn't trying to impress me or anything. Like, he was just saying that about his wife.
Sure.
And it meant so much to him. And he told me, and I was like, of course, that's my dad.
Yeah.
But I believe in the lightning bolt too. And, I think it's happened to both of us, and that's such a wonderful experience.
It is wonderful.
Yeah. So, and before I get too sappy, I do need to close this out with our last question. But my last question is, what lessons have you learned from life's curveballs that you would want to instill in others or share with others to maybe, like you said, if you've been through something rough, maybe even if you haven't been through something rough, what is something that you really have learned from your 70 years that you would want to share?
Okay, well, I'd say two things come to mind, and when you're asking me that question,
please.
First of all, is my father instilled in me. He always used to say, "Thomas," he called me Thomas. Thomas, it doesn't cost you anything to be nice to people.
Yeah.
And my dad was one of these people, even though he was Sicilian and and from Brooklyn and whatnot, he was always nice to people, and so many people, even rough people, were just awesome to him because he was just a genuine guy who put out the niceness first. If you screwed him over, well, then that was over.
Yeah.
But, he was always the first person to be nice to you before he even knew who you were.
And incredibly generous. Like, I think the point that sticks out to me that you're saying is before, like he didn't have a prerequisite for his respect.
Yeah.
Like he, from gate,
Yeah.
was giving respect and kindness.
That's right. Yeah. And he'd let people prove that they're either a good person or an asshole.
Yeah.
And if they were an asshole, he'd just stay away from them. That was it. It was over,
Yeah.
The other lesson, big lesson I learned is, as you know, on 4th of July, 2005,
Yep.
I was 50 years old, and I woke up on vacation with my family from a heart attack.
Yeah.
And that heart attack, instead of it just being a regular heart attack, widow maker or whatever they call them and stuff, and, going to the hospital and everything, one of the first things they give you is heparin, which is the stuff that thins your blood, which is, helps you with your arteries and your heart so that you could live and until they have to go in and do whatever changes they have to do to you, right? So, but nobody knew that I was allergic to heparin, including myself. And I ended up being in the hospital in the ICU for 16 days. So it became a whole nother thing. Now it wasn't just a heart attack. It was a heart attack and internal bleeding and blah, blah, blah. And it was a mess.
Yeah.
But after 16 days, when I was getting out of the hospital, I got out. I had to use a walker.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to walk again. And I had lost like 30-something pounds in 16 days.
Yep.
And it just gave me a whole different way of looking at life. And I said, that's it. I'm not going to let this shit fucking drive me crazy anymore.
Yeah, that was
the movie industry and
yeah.
everything. Yeah,
due to stress, poor eating, smoking.
Oh yeah, smoking and stuff like that, and it changed me. Now, of course, I fell back into certain things, not smoking, but I still worked in the movie industry, even though I was getting out.
Yeah,
but I just looked at things in a different way.
Yeah,
and I knew what was more important in life, and it's terrible to think that you have to get so close to dying to understand what living is about.
Yeah, to gain perspective.
That's right. And if I was to share anything with anybody and stuff, if they were to ask me, it would be, don't get that close to dying to learn about living, because most people end up dying when they get close to dying.
Yeah.
Just try to say, you know what? Screw this. When I'm gone, 50 years after I'm gone, is this going to matter?
Yeah. And
just be cool to the people that are cool to you and love the people that love you, and, and just be nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
It doesn't cost anything. And I think you're right. I think so many people don't get a second shot like you did, Yeah. And it changed all of our lives,
I'm sure.
But I think it was such a gift, because obviously it changed the trajectory that you were on, like you said, and you were able to make corrections and then be able to live to 70 plus. And this is I can't even imagine if we didn't have you the last 20 years. That would be insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just to think of that in that way, in the magnitude of that, what that holds. I'm so glad that you're saying that. And I think you're totally right. We used to joke, you didn't, not that you never cried before, but after you had your heart attack,
oh my God,
you were like, I'm so much easier to cry when I watch a movie or something like that.
I was a tough nut before I had a heart attack. Now I watch a movie,
I know.
The dog died, man.
Yeah. But see, I think that's so much healthier. That's how
your mother loves it, but I don't. But
we all love it. We all love it.
Yeah.
And I think it does. And as much as it's a huge cost to get that lesson, it really does put life into perspective for you. And I think because of that, you've had such a different view on life, and you've been able
Yeah.
to you've already been able to instill that in your kids, and then you'll continue. I think this podcast will reach some people and hopefully
I hope so.
positively affect them as well.
I hope I said something to make people laugh and something to make people think.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what I'm trying to do, Dad. So I love to hear that you did the same thing. And it means so much to me that you came on the podcast. Thanks for
Thank
doing
you.
this.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Should we do one last bite? One last bite of this fudgy, delicious brownie that has coconut.
God, it is so good.
Thank you for saying that. One last bite.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad you like it.
Oh yeah.
Well, sweetie pies, thank you so much. We will be back in 2 weeks. Please hug your loved ones. Give them some love. I'm going to give my dad a big hug after this. And thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, Dad. Love you.